When we talk about decisions we make, so many times it's driven by the ego. So this right here really got me thinking. The death of the ego. How many times has that occurred for me? How many times has that occurred for maybe one of you? You know, as you watch this, you think about how many times has something come up in your life, you've made a decision, you realized you made the wrong decision, but you never really think about where does the decision come from, right? Where does the decision making process come from for you? That's really important because if you kind of assess, and I always say this, and I think this is super important in the mental health portion of reassessment of your decisions, your thought process, and your emotions. There's a lot of times that we kind of go through life, we never really assess our emotions. We never really talk about, hey, what was the reason behind that decision? So many times you made a bad decision and you may not even have had repercussions. Or so many times you've made a decision not realizing it was about you. You thought you were making a decision for somebody else, when in reality you weren't. You were honestly just making it for yourself. Ego, man. Ego. I recently have tried to address my way of thinking, right? So I save a lot of lives where I work and everything I do. It really comes down to a false sense of you're literally playing God with people, right? You're doing well, you're saving lives, you've been given expertise, knowledge, you're smart, you're able to do that, right? How are you able to do that? Because of decision making. But you get so confident and that you believe you can help everybody, it bleeds out into your life. When I was younger, it started with believing I could help a lot of people, maybe friends, always be there for somebody. It did bleed over into women, right? It bled over to thinking that I could save all these women. I talked about that before. And because of it bleeding into that, I just was living the wrong way. You know, I thought that a sexually charged understanding of somebody was a way to help them. That's not going to work. That's not going to help them. That's not going to be the difference maker, right? That's not what's going to be what makes a difference. What helps them saves their life, right? You can't do that. You don't have that type of power. You can be there for somebody within a means. You can't think that you're going to be there and basically play God for somebody's life. When it comes to the ego, you become entranced in what you're doing. And you might be super passionate about what you're doing. You might be super passionate with excelling in your craft. You'll do anything for that craft. I mean, you will do anything. You will destroy your own life to be good at that craft. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize that like we're destroying ourselves to be better at the craft, but that's what we're doing. I mean, you're literally destroying your life. You're pushing people away. You're making bad decisions. You're just living wretched. You're living negatively, and it will tear you down. There's not really a question on is it going to, it's when will it? And buddy, you can go for a long time. You can really, man, you can live out some years living wrong, living reckless with your ego. When the ego death happens, and I see it a lot online, people talk about this and they talk about different ways that they've had the ego death. A lot of them talk about psychedelics, medications, whatever, right? Sometimes, man, it really can just come from bad decisions. It can come from the results of bad decisions. The ego death is when you give in. You're done. You can't live that way anymore. You can't physically live a wretched life anymore. You just don't have it in you to do it anymore. You've tapped out. And there's really two ways to tap out. We know that. You might tap out the wrong way and you might not be here anymore. Or you tap out that way and you're like, man, I'm done. I give in. I'm good. Sometimes we give in to people that we shouldn't give in to. A lot of people, man, they're going to abuse you, man. they're honestly going to abuse you. They're going to abuse your kindness. They're going to abuse the fact that you want to be there for them. I was asked this question once on two questions. One question was, if I was making the same bad decisions, if somebody was making the same bad decisions to me, how would I feel about that person? How would I feel about, would I stick around to help? It was very interesting because I ponder this question a lot. I really do. Because I think that this comes into the ego, right? There's two schools of thought. You know, you leave everything, you leave everybody, and does it really matter? I don't know, man. You know, you can say that there's a plenty of fish of friends and people and your friend groups and relationships and whatever, man. And you know, you can even say you have a lot of family maybe, and you know, there's more than one person in your family, right? I don't know, man. You know, the problem is there is and there isn't. You were put in your path, people in your life that were probably meant to be yours forever, your best friends that you have always stayed with. You know, 70 years of this one friend, right? 70 years of this relationship, 70 years of a brother or a sister that you were gifted to have. Family's a gift. And when it comes to the ego, you start to realize that would I leave myself? It's funny. I would have to say the reason why I don't know if I would leave myself, and I do say this is a 50-50 answer, is because do I leave other people? That was my biggest problem. That was my biggest weakness. I couldn't let people go, man. I couldn't. I couldn't let people go who really needed to go because I was so scared. My self-worth was so low. I just didn't have it in me to say, hey, I'm done. I'm done, man. If we never talk again, we never talk again. And I think that comes from self-worth, man. You don't want to be abandoned. You don't want to abandon somebody else. What if they really need you? What if, like, you know, it is life or death? Likely isn't, but what if it is? So you create this ego. And I'm going to tell you why it's an ego. Because the other question I was asked was recently, was by a therapist, right? This therapist asked, what gives you the idea that you are the person that is going to make the difference? Like, what gives you that thought that you are the one? And I had to ponder on it for a while because I really couldn't understand the answer. I don't know. You know, you just think, well, I have the ability, I have the intelligence, I have the emotional stability, I had the strength, I thought, mentally, to carry baggage from anybody on this earth all at once, all the time. And I've realized as time went on and things I've lost in my life were the most important things in my life I've ever lost, right? Like, especially myself. You say to yourself, man, how cocky or your ego is to make you think you are going to be able to do that. If you're there for somebody and you stick by their side, and I mean, you truly stick by their side, no matter what, because you just love the person, that's different than thinking that you need to save everybody. Remember, in a video I touched on the Superman syndrome, that's a legitimate thing, and that's what it plays into. Your ego drives the Superman syndrome, but the ego is falsely elevated because you don't have self-worth to actually have a legitimately correct ego. It all plays on itself, right? So as you have a horrible self-worth, which I do, man. I mean, you know, I am literally one of the most successful people I know, man. I am. Doesn't mean anything. Literally doesn't mean anything. I can put it in front of me. I can write it down on paper. I can see what I've done and where I've came from, but it doesn't really matter. I don't feel like I'm that, right? I don't feel that I'm that. I know that I am successful, but the self-worth and self-esteem is so low, right? So then you falsely elevate this ego, which then just is destructive because you don't have a positive underlying process. Dude, your self-worth and you have self-hate all day long. What do you think is going to come out of that? You're going to have a horrible ego because you're trying to make up. You don't admit it. You know how hard it is to admit it? Death of the ego. Death of the ego, man, is where you're done. You tap out. Hey, I don't believe I can reach this anymore. I don't believe that I can do this because it is not what I'm supposed to do. That's not me. I don't have that power. I'm not playing God. You can only do what you can do by the tools that you were given, but you can't do outside of that. You just can't. You can't think that that's what you're going to do because it's not feasible. It's not something that is it's not something that is actually able to be done, legitimately. And it's a shame because when the ego death happens, you basically feel like you've lost it all, right? Like that's where you hit the delete button. It is. And the death of the ego, at least from my understanding, is like over an amount of time for me, right? Maybe it was because self-realization. But I will say this is, and as hard as it is, man, sometimes you will be abused and not even realize it. And I want you to understand something. There is certain ways that you're abused that the other people don't even realize they're doing it. I mean, I abused hearts by thinking I could save everybody and having sexually driven ideas and this and that, right? And I abused, man. I didn't know I was abusing it. I didn't know. And when you learn it, you realize, wow, what a difference it is. What a different life it is when you look at it from the outside now. And you have good self-realization to understand that you're not right all the time. You're not right. You're going to be wrong. You're going to pay the price. Karma comes for its payment back to all its debt that you've done, right? But the death of the ego is important, man. I think that a lot of people, they attribute that, by these people they've watched. Oh, man, when they have the death of the ego, look at their life now. You don't know how long it's been. You don't know their timeline compared to yours, man. You don't know. You only see what you see online. You don't actually see the hardships. So what I'm trying to bring you is the days of self-reflection, man. The days that you sit here and you got nothing, man. You see, I don't have anybody else in these videos. I live alone. I do what I do due to decisions. Originally by choice, now due to decisions. But in your mind, you think that as soon as you have this death of the ego, as soon as you get better, as soon as you have self-realization, you're good. You're over it. You're better. You're good to go. Nothing is going to tear you down. That's not the case. Everything takes time to build. Some people don't want to waste that time with you, and that's okay. Sometimes you don't want to waste that time on yourself. It's okay. But just know that the death of the ego, you have to understand that you're not that. You don't have that ability to think that that's what you can do. It's an ego. If things happen because you're there, because you're doing the best you can, that's how it works, man. You can't play God in every aspect and control everything in this world. Because my man upstairs is going to take it back, man. He's going to teach you a lesson. So I just hope that, you know, you get something from it, you understand something, and just, man, continue to be better, man. It's gonna, the negatives are gonna creep in. They are, and it's hard, man. It's hard to think about that. Oh, damn, I just got through all this and it's still got to go through more. Yeah, you do. But keep at it, man. Keep steady pressure and keep pushing forward, and you'll gain. You will. You'll gain. So stay up.